Us.
All right. Now, as we always do, we acquaint you with the procedure of this program. At the appropriate time, you can get to be part of the discussion in the studio. The various platforms will be on your screen. We advise you take advantage of them. However, for those who will be calling in tonight, at the time your call gets through, at the appropriate time, turn down the volume of your TV set. Just reduce the volume. That's the way to avoid the hurlback or the echo. And the best way to know that your call has been passed through to the studio is your name will appear on screen. Once you see that, you're through. Just go right ahead with a question, comment, and whatever issues you raise, our guests will be willing to address them. Let's just mention that you do not need to bother about the greetings. Just go straight to the point and keep it as brief as possible so that others can get on the platform too. So once again, thanks for joining us tonight. Politicians and politics of ideology. Let's start off by asking really, how is politics playing out today in Nigeria, Senator? Are we getting better at this game, or we look and say, it looks like there's still a long way to go?
Well, you will agree with me that our democracy is still evolving. And as that happens, people will begin to discover and rediscover themselves. And the implication of that is that people will do one thing today, and then the likelihood of changing their mind tomorrow is. But generally speaking, I think we've not done so badly, given the third world nature of our country. Today in Nigeria, we're playing politics. It's very easy for people to leave their political party to another political party. Yes, it may be seen differently by so many people, because the voters, the electorate themselves, are interested on the personalities. It is the personalities that drive the opinion and the decision of the electorate, not the political parties. Because the organization scale of the political parties, almost all the political parties seem to have similar problems. So as that happens, we need to persevere. We need to endure. We need to begin to learn from our mistakes to such a time that our politics will be based 100% on ideological excellence. Until that happens, I think we are still learning the ropes.
Okay, we'll return to you in a while, but let's hear the views of Honorable Farouk Adamu Aliu. Looking at what's happening now, comparing to times past, would you say we're moving forward, as they say popularly, or we're retrogressing?
I think we're really going backwards, sadly, unfortunately. You find out that we politicians in this country, unfortunately, are not learning, and we're not willing to learn. I mean, this is a country where some of us politicians will say politics of stomach infrastructure. That's absolute nonsense. Or, like my party, APC change. Really? Change what? Change attitude? Change things, the way things are done? PDP, power to the people. The constitution of this country has already vested the power in the people. Now, so coming back to my brother here, yes, in this country still people follow certain personalities to do things. Let me take example of the APC still. If nothing, the person in the president has been identified with fight against corruption. That could be an ideology. That could be something that people can build on. But honestly, as a matter of party, APC, PDP, ACN, whatever you call them, no ideological differences. Everything is built on what do we do to get other people on our side. And the saddest part of it is when most of us change parties, none of us, just like I was reading tonight, one of the governors who defected said, I'm moving to a political party where I will actualize, or my people will actualize their aspirations. So it's not, what aspiration? No ideology. Which means it's, look, where can I go to win election? Probably. So until such a time when we, the politicians, start thinking like stem cell, Which party will promote stem cell development in this country? Which party will go against same-sex marriage? Which party will ensure that governance is done this way? So that you know from the beginning that APC stands for this, and the government and the party to make sure each governor, the governor of Kano State does not know what the governor of Jigawa is doing. The governor of Lagos does not know what's happening in, so that if you go to Gombe where PDP is and Akwa Ibom, they don't know what they're, so you find out that, look, we as a people, connivance of the elites of this country, political elite, need to come around to say that, look, enough is enough. We should start practicing things the way it's done everywhere. I don't think this attitude of we are learning, we have to start, being good students by now.
All right. Prof, the ball is in your court.
I would like to go back to memory lane. Nigeria started democracy since 1922 with Clifford Constitution. 22 to this time is a long period, almost 90-something years, and we are still learning. So it calls for a kind of sitting down. Let us think. Are we moving forward? Are we stagnated? Are we moving backward? Because I remember hundreds of years before the birth of Jesus Christ, may peace of Allah be on him, Greeks, they sat down and said anybody that wants to lead must be a philosopher king. As far as that time. But here in Nigeria today, ask an average leader or a potential leader, what is the concept of leadership? Leadership, basically, even the ideology of leadership is service. Basically, without going into advanced countries. Even if you go to pre-history, those who led based on cause of service. That's the basic ideology, which we don't have. It's not only in politics, I'm sorry to say. It's almost everywhere of our life. Even the universities that we are trying to breed people who will go and lead, we have problems in terms of leadership. So the question we should be asking ourselves, as the Honorable said, the elites, we are the one that is having problem. We should sit down, ponder, and take a decision. How do we want this country to look like? How do we want leadership to be like? People that are before us, this is the 21st century. They have a basic knowledge of leadership. They are basic. We are not talking of capitalism or socialism or welfareism. Basic, that leadership is for service. So we are not getting it right the way we should, and we need to sit down and ponder that even ideologically, the basic ideology of leadership, we don't even have it.
All right. At this point, let's go over to our Benin Network Center and put the same question to Obinsiri Otame, who's a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst. And basically, it's what we've been talking about from here. That is, how is politics playing out today in Nigeria?
Well, it's rather unfortunate. My own definition of a political party is quite elementary. It's made up of a group of people with similar political ideology and with the ultimate aim of contesting and winning an election. That is a political party in our elementary government. But where we now have people decamping from one party to the other, right from 1999 till date, you've had situations where our politicians have left one party in government to the other, and you have them changing these parties as if a woman is changing the wrapper in her waist. It gives me an impression that that cannot really be a politician with an ideology. Because you cannot tell me that every 4 years you begin to change your ideology. It, in essence, means that you as a politician, you either do not know what you want or you do not know what your people want. And one of the major reasons the politicians appear to be doing all this is that the politicians themselves still determine the political space of our own electoral process, whereas it ought to be the electorates deciding the pace of our electoral process. If the politicians are aware that the electorates actually look at their personality and then effect their votes will count, they drive home their points in ensuring that they either vote you in or vote you out based on their own conviction. And they do that with all the zeal and the will required to ensuring that there is proper governance. Then politicians will know how to stick to their ideology and maintain their own lane. Because whether you like it or not, all the political parties that we have in this country, name it PDP, APC, AFGA, and so on and so forth, they are all with good manifestos. So wherever you are as a political party and you know that you are really good as a politician, you can drive home your points and you will be able to lead the people based on their own aspirations. Quite unfortunately, the politicians themselves feel that because they can at the very last minute decide the political space irrespective of what the people desire, then they begin to change these parties. Let us know that in recent time, with keen interest to ascertain whether these politicians that have consulted members of their constituency before defecting from one party to the other, it appears to me that those things were not really taken into consideration. So what are we now telling Nigerians? We're indirectly telling Nigerians that, oh, just remain there. By the time elections come, you just go vote for me, irrespective of the political party I belong to. Whereas you have not really seen whether you as a politician, you are in tune with the aspiration of the people and the party your own constituency have really chosen to support in an election. So these are things that are playing out, and it is only when Nigerians are convinced that they can vote out politicians who have no political ideology that we begin to know that they are now learning their lessons. But as it stands now, then we really have to examine ourselves, both the politicians and those electing the politicians.
All right. Thank you. We'll return to you in a moment. Well, Senator.
Yes.
4 years ago, Nigeria witnessed massive defections from one political party to another. Today, history is repeating itself. What does this say about the politician, the political parties?
This is reflective of, I can quote the famous British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. He said, people change their minds in order not to change their political parties, or change their political parties in order not to change their mind. However, like I told you, these parties have their very beautiful manifestos anchored in one particular ideology or the other. There is now globally no longer a broad line between the ideology of the left and the ideology of the right. The ideology of the left has to do with socialism or communism. The ideology of the right is that of capitalism for maximum profit. But since the collapse of the Soviet Union, it seems to me that the Eastern Europe, having gone into democracy, liberal democracies, we don't have socialism or ideology of the left anymore. But the truth to be said is that our democracy has not created an environment where political parties are made to be strong, where manifestos that are drawn by political parties are those ones that are implementable. When we have an avalanche of promises written out in a book and none is implemented, it also has to do with the confidence of the electorate. So these people that are going to cast the vote want to look at the leaders they trust, leaders they have interpersonal relationship, leaders they have dealt with in the past. So until such a goodwill is meant to be transferred to the political party, so that it is the goodwill of the political party that will make a politician win an election, not the goodwill of the individual. That until that is done, people will continue to do this business of try a luck this way and try a luck this way. And then that also comes to the issue of discipline. A politician that must operate with some degree of discipline and respect to the political party is that politician that will become the politician that has an ideology. Then the operating constitution, which is the ground norm, we have to develop what I can consider national ideology, national attitude, what guides the business, the political activities of the country. The attitude of every Nigerian, the attitude of every politician, the attitude of governance, the national ideology should be able to guide that. And in the absence of that, it is freestyle wrestling. People are doing what they want and what they think that will benefit them. The national interest is not established. How have we ever, as a country, convened a conference to be able to collectively decide what can be considered our national interest? Have we collectively decided before what should be our foreign policy? Have we also been able to create a code of conduct governing political activities in Nigeria? These are so many questions that we should answer. So for me, as a politician, like most other politicians, we have suddenly become very selfish. So everything is based on aspiration. So for that reason, the only thing is, I'm in this political party so I can have the party ticket to run for an election.
Right.
So we must go beyond that.
Well, without mentioning specific names, I have listened to a politician when asked this question and said, look, what's the basis, what ideology do you have on his movement from one party to the other? And his response was, there's nothing called ideology. It is just any platform which I believe I can use to achieve the ultimate aim of acquiring power for whatever groups would benefit from it. Do you subscribe to that?
Absolutely. He's absolutely right, sadly. You see, well, let me tell the viewers. First of all, defection, it's legal. There is nothing wrong in you moving from one party to another. 4 years ago, as you said, people moved from one party to another. Now, it's also happening. Well, you see, sadly, the saddest part of it is that all these people moving, none of them, I've not had up to date, whether from 4 years ago or today, anybody that said, look, I am moving from this party because I do not believe in the way they do X, Y, Z. No. I am moving so that I could get ticket to acquire power or to win the election. When you win the election, something happens wrong, you also move back. So now, the masses need to understand that we, the elites of this country, need to be taught a lesson. Because it is all connivance of the elites. Today we are fighting, I and John. Tomorrow, Bayo and I are doing very well. Or we are back with John. Vice versa. So when the masses understand that we, the elites, are one and the same, that's when they will teach us a lesson that if you decide to defect for your own interest, just because of election, you should be voted out. Simple. Whichever party you belong, irrespective of the party. As long as you defected for your own interest, because you feel if you're in this party, you will win the election. And when you win the election, you never come and speak about, look, this government is not doing this very well because they've not tarred the road, or the budget have not been approved, or they are not following the budget, these kind of things. Then people know that, yes, we're living because nothing is happening. No, but if you look at it, it's all personality issues. Why are things not done the way they should be done, the way I think should be done? Not necessarily what is right. Just like what he said, national ideology. Well, I think the constitution we have has some ideology, for us to follow as a country. But yes, the parties need to start coming up with foreign policy. What's the difference between like APC and PDP? Where like if APC decides to make Africa a center, probably PDP should talk of Europe or the whole world or trade relations and so on and so forth. Even healthcare delivery. I mean, if you go back to NPN days, if nothing, we knew NPN, they build houses and feeding or something like that. And they restricting themselves to that. These days, as I said, PDP, power to the people, which our constitution has already guaranteed that, APC change attitude or change what? But the personalities try to maybe show themselves what they think is right. What the president thinks it's right. Okay, what do I do? So I'm going to fight for corruption, probity, make sure things are done correctly. Okay, so let people come and follow, but not because the party, not because APC, my party, has said that, look, it's going to be fight against corruption, fight. No, but the president in his manner, even while we're campaigning, said that, look, we're going to go on 3 things: economy, corruption, and security. These kind of things. So if the parties start building along these lines, then probably we could see things that ideology. But as of today, no party in this country has an ideology, sadly.
Prof, is this what can be explained away by saying in politics, no permanent friends or foes? Is that what's playing out?
No. In Nigerian case, I did a work and I gave a complimentary copy to my colleagues on this ideology. I titled it Ideological Bankruptcy in the Political Practice of Nigeria. The genesis, where does it start? The magnitude, how big it is. And then the consequences. In the First and Second Republic, we have parties with ideology. The campaign was not as rampant as this. There were the campaigns in those days, First and Second Republic. But when it came to the aborted Third Republic, when the issue of SDP and NRC came, and government established the 2 parties, funded it, built secretariat for it. Before that time, it is the electorate that fund parties. They buy cap, they buy badge to fund the party they are interested in. By the time the government took over the activities of the electorate and funded the party, SDP and NRC, and gave it ideology, SDP a little to the left, NRC a little to the right. Giving it ideology by itself, government took it over, and political parties became parastatal of government. They appointed the chairman, they appointed secretary, they are funding it, they build secretariat for them. That is the genesis of our bankruptcy in ideology. By the time we finished, we aborted the Third Republic. We went into the Fourth Republic. The same mentality of the Third aborted Republic was with us. That's okay. So government can take our load, our burden as electorate. Because everybody in Nigeria before, in the First and Second Republic, is proud that I'm one of the founders of a party. I contributed. Some parties at the world level at that time, they have lists of members and the contribution every month. But from NRC, SDP, nobody is doing that again. Government took over. That is where we started having problem of ideology in Nigeria. Then the consequences of it, the magnitude of it, is what we saw in the Fourth Republic from 1999. It became manifest. And then the consequence is what we are seeing now. That anybody can cross from one party to another party, because ideologically in the Third aborted Republic, we call it a little to the left, a little to the right, which means it's not right, it's not left. So that ideological confusion then continued in the Fourth Republic. And then that is what we are following from 99 up to now. So I'm sorry, let me make a point. We are asking the electorate for too much. In most of the civilized countries of the world, It's the elites that took the mantle of leadership. Electorates are easy to be manipulated here and there. They can't stand that this is what, because easy they can be manipulated. But the elites, we elites in Nigeria, we have to do a lot of work. Political elites, academic elite, religious elite, business elite. We want to sit down. That how do we want to move this country? Because elitism, I'm sorry to use the word, is a blessing from God.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, well, our first caller has been on the line for quite some time, I do believe. He's calling in from Maiduguri. Ali calling in from Maiduguri. Hello, Ali, go right ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
The problem we are having here is it's not politics of ideology, rather the politics of who we are going to vote for. No, presently it is the personality that matters, but not the political party. Whoever becomes the candidate, and if he will deliver to the people and the people believe in him, they will vote for him. Because there are some situations whereby, even in the last election, you see some places they voted for the president, then they voted for another candidate in the PDP or in Abuja. So people are looking at the candidate. So we are at a filtration stage. So let me use this scientific word. Just in a filtration stage, in which the situation whereby people are now camping and regrouping. People of different ideologies will separate, and people with similar ideologies are coming together. So it will take some time before we will come out with a group of people which is called political party with an ideology. Either it is socialist or the capitalist ideology. So for now, there is no clear ideology in any political party. But it is a regrouping stage, or I would say it is a filtration stage. The bad eggs are moving away, the good ones are coming in, and it is just cross-carpeting and recross-carpeting. So that is my opinion. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And straight off to our Benin Network Center. And the question is it really, like Ali has just said, is it really a case of regrouping people with similar ideologies coming together, those with different ones going there different? Because if you look at it, and every Nigerian, or most Nigerians, will tell you that without fear of contradiction, close to 3/4 of all those involved in the defections back and forth have been in the same parties before. It's all, from party A to party B, and next from party B back to party A and back, and the whole cycle continues. So is that a question of ideology? Because if you had the same ideology in party A and you have been in party B before and you go back to party B, which ideology are we talking about?
That's precisely what I said the other time. We are really in a theater having this political drama in Nigeria, and it is rather unfortunate. You see, the major reason for this is the volume of money that politicians have access to in governance. That has to be controlled. Politicians feel that when they get in there, they have this access to the money, and whatever they've been able to acquire for themselves, they will not want to leave power. They want to remain in power at all costs, even at the detriment of having to work against the interests of their party. And that is what is bringing about this grouping and regrouping and so on and so forth. You have decamping from one party to the other today. You have redecamping and recamping and so on, which is now very prevalent. To the extent that political parties are now looked at as main institutions that are no longer sacrosanct to the politicians themselves. Whereas the party supremacy ought to prevail. But you now have politicians, even within the same party, that feel that they are bigger than the political parties, the platform under which they emerge in their various positions. That is very dangerous to our democracy. People are now having allegiance to a particular leader who they will regard as a godfather, to the extent that you have political office holders like members of the House of Assembly, senators, even governors, based on their loyalty to a particular political figure. They sheepishly move with such a person, forgetting about the aspirations of their own people, as well as the programs and objectives of their own political party. Well, like Honorable Farouk rightly pointed out, the electorate really needs to teach the elites some lessons. That, of course, when you have such politicians, the only thing that can satisfy the Nigerian people is when they are taught the lessons of their life of being voted out of office. Because for Christ's sake, they are toying with Nigeria as a country. If we have so entrusted them with such powers, they owe us that sacrosanct duty to protect the sanctity of their office. Incidentally, the Constitution has made provision for it, at least in respect of the legislative arm of government. If you are in a legislative house and you decide to change your political party, well, it means that you are ready to forfeit that office that you hitherto occupy. But unfortunately, the tool of a politician is not the tool of a reasonable man. And the reason a politician would naturally decamp from one party to the other beats all kinds of the reasons of a reasonable man. And you still have them circumventing these laws. So my own take is that voters should know that they are stakeholders in this politics of decamping of politicians. So that once and for all, politicians will know that we have those spectators who are more enlightened than how they feel. And so when they are really shown that lesson, then some other politicians will also learn from there.
Let's pick a point here where he talked about godfatherism. That's come to be known in Nigeria as one individual who, to a large extent, controls what. And we have heard politicians sometimes who say, "Look, it does not matter what party, what ideology, even if there's one." Some have gone to the extent to say, "Look, if I put a goat in there, that goat will win that election because I control it." What does that say of your politics?
Yeah, I want to agree with Tim. Sadly, like Prof said, the poverty level is very high. Like I told you, the economy is also not helping matters. When you talk of autonomy, the voters being able to take their own decisions, you begin to ask yourself, how many of these people are independent? How many of these people can fend for themselves? When you have a situation where a particular leader, you are under his employ, he provides for you, he probably participated in what becomes a permanent source of income and livelihood. It goes without saying that there is a limit to which you will say no to him. But if it is a developed society where the systems are working, institutions are working, and the level of unemployment is low, it means that I will be able to think, I will deploy the appropriate thought process that will guide me. I should be able to say what my leader has taken as a decision is not going to benefit me. It's not going to help my tomorrow. But the survival aspect of it. All right. The survival aspect.
Okay, there's an aspect we'll come to, but we have a caller on the line from Lagos. Ismaila calling in from Lagos. Hello. Hello, are you still there with us?
Hello, good evening, Mr. Cyril. Good evening, my elders at the studio.
Right, good evening.
Let me go straight to the point. You see, Mr. Cyril, the issue of this, our political delinquency, let me be honest with you, is lack of our, I can say lack of political ideology. And then my worry now is the electorate. I don't know what kind of message our elders are sending to us. We that are about to come into the political system. To me, to my own technical point of view, the message is negative, totally negative. Look at what is going on now. There are so many issues going around, which at least one will ask himself, what kind of political system are we into? Look at what is going on. Today, you come to this party, tomorrow you come to another party. What is the reason for that? Are we doing this for the sake of the masses? Are we talking about national interest? Where is the national interest? Where is the development? People are running from one party to another just because of their selfish interest. Is that the kind of ideology that we need to employ in our political system? Now, if you ask my elders in the house, how much money can a politician spend during his campaign? Nobody will tell you. Nobody will tell you. So you can see the scenario. So believe in me, we are talking of nation building. We are talking of national interest. We are talking of patriotism. But there is no any patriotism in what we are experiencing today. And the building a nation is not a business of today or tomorrow. It's a continuous business. Whether you belong to Party A or Party B, you must have to continue with that process. So believe in me, now the victims are the electorate, which we don't know our right from our left. And I don't know what National Orientation Agency is doing. I don't know what the Voters Education Unit is doing in the INEC. These are the kind of issues we need to come up with. And then we need the intervention of the legal practitioners, especially the Nigerian Bar Association, the Legal Aid Council, to come up and educate the entire electorate on how to go on about the impeachment process. Look at it now. Until the last day, people are beginning to come up with the issue of impeachment. For God's sake, we don't have any other country than Nigeria. And together we must build this country. Otherwise, are we accepting the international community to come and rehabilitate Nigeria for us? The answer is no. So there is need for general societal reorientation from the elite, from the business elite, from the political elite, from the bottom to the top. Simple as that. We need general societal reorientation from the bottom to the top. Thank you very much. I remain Ismail Amabo from Lagos.
All right. Thank you so much, Ismaila. Well, one passionate caller there. But again, we've heard some people say one of the reasons for these defections back and forth has to do with internal democracy in the parties. But again, others would say, well, across board, is there internal democracy in the parties, Senator?
Yeah, that is the issue. Because once the foundation is not gotten right, the administration of political parties, every political party, looking at their constitution, has a provision for internal mechanism for resolving disagreements. As long as the leaders are not able to rise up to the occasion to apply that section of the Constitution and use those legal means to resolve issues bordering on disagreements, of course, divergence of interest. People will always disagree. But we expect as politicians that you will disagree to agree. No, when the political party is not able to do that and allow the matter to degenerate, and then get up to an ego issue. So the required discipline and commitment that every politician should carry to the party as the supreme body is no longer there. So I think that until that is done, some of the political parties that had internal crisis, constitutionally speaking, in the Constitution, once there are factions in any political party, it creates room for legislators from that political party to move from that political party to another political party. Especially given that we have not been able to graduate up to a level that ideology is the reason for our coming together, which is the topic of today. But many people have been able to go there because there is one policy of government that has been implemented that conflicts with their personal interests. It becomes an issue. So I want to agree with the young man that called from Lagos, Ismail, because the national interest, which is supposed to be the overriding thing for any consideration, is now undermined.
How about, Honorable, how about if you have people who would get up today and say, look, I am leaving Party A today because Party A promised to fix the roads, fix electricity, eradicate poverty, and Party A has failed to do that. So I'm moving to Party B, which in the areas Party B controls, and this, I'm not restricting this now to national level, even at the state and local levels, if we still have the parties at the local levels, that is, and say Party B or Party C is doing well in whatever part of the country they're in charge of in the provision of this. So I believe they have this. Do we have that happening? What we hear is about, I can't get a ticket, I can't get somebody into a position, I can't get my people, my friends appointed into certain positions. Therefore, this is not in my interest, I'm leaving. Is that what we have?
You find out that these defections happens 6 months to election. So, it's nothing of ideology, it's nothing of national interest, but personal interest.
But they also talk of internal democracy.
Yeah, I'm coming. Now, it has happened in this country, in Lagos. What's the name of Otedola? Yes, Otedola. I think Otedola. Yeah, won election one time. That was Otedola. In Kano, it happened. Shekaro won election, and nationally also, it happened. When people get angry over certain things, they try to change government. So now let me hit on the masses. Sometimes it serves them right, because you see, look, these are masses. Never ask, like I was member House of Reps. Your constituents will never ask you about how many bills you've passed, or what's the difference between a bill, a motion, and an act. How do this thing happen? No. The constituents also will look at what dividend of democracy you bring. And dividend of democracy means, to large extent, my wife has delivered, I need to pay. My daughter is getting married, I need to send my children to school. These kind of things. Now, so probably out of anger now, let the masses understand, look, if you come to collect money from me, I make the money elsewhere. So let there be a conscious effort by the masses. These stipends that they collect from us, they are small thing. If they can only direct their anger in us. Now, before I go into assembly, I didn't have a house. Now I went to the National Assembly. I have fleet of cars, houses, and so on. Then let the people start asking questions so that they can say, look, no, we didn't vote for you to go and do that kind of a thing. So let that kind of anger be translated into votes. Whichever party you belong to, if you don't do right, you should be voted out.
All right.
This is nothing about APC or PDP now, about us as a people.
All right, we have another caller from Kaduna, Nura calling in. Hello, Nura. Nura, are you with us? Nura. Well, we'll just...
Good evening, Mr. Siri.
Yes, hello, Nura.
Good evening, Mr. Siri.
Good evening.
Yes, I'm with you. Good evening.
Go right ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Nura. Go ahead. Your name is on screen, so go ahead.
Okay, my contribution is, Mr. Siri, why politicians are defecting from one party to the other is because there's no penalty on them. If there's if there's going to be a law that will sanction them, maybe after defecting, you cannot contest election till after 4 years or 8 years, I think they will come back right to their senses. That they just believe they swing from one angle to another and nobody does anything for them. Like what the Honorable is saying, that the politicians are not being taught a lesson. He should wait and see. This time around, in 2019, the voters will show the defectors that they are wise enough this time around. You know, our democracy is still young, and we are learning. And in short, some part of the country or some part of the people don't even have confidence in the system. But now, people are getting more educated, more conscientized about the system. So as time goes on, at least we get to know who are real politicians and who are not real politicians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nurab. Well, when you look across the political parties, do you see an element of internal democracy? Because we hear some of the defectors, people who go back and forth, say, look, it's all because there's a lack of internal democracy.
But the concept of internal democracy needs to be defined. Because when you're talking of internal democracy, what are we asking for specifically? Because somebody said something that is important. Sometimes an individual can make a change. When people believe that this individual is good, he can deliver, they go for him. I remember in Bauchi State in 2007, it is the elite, one of the elites that moved from one party to another, and the masses moved with him and voted him because they believe he can deliver. Unfortunately for we, the elites, political elites, the man did not spend 3 months in that party. He decamped to the party where he was insulted. So what are we expecting from the electorates other than all those things? When the electorate suffered, sacrificed, even their lives, for the politicians, 3 months, 6 months, they went back to a party that was humiliated. Ditto for Kano. Electorates came out without money, without asking for my wife is a liver, my wife is, I'm going to marry. They did not ask for anything. They went out, voted. Unfortunately, the candidate that was voted for did not support the party when they were going to court on the presidential election case. It is with the elites, I'm sorry to say, that we need to go back and check our minds. Let us check our conscience. Electorates, we have weakened the electorate. The Honorable said it. The distinguished said it. An electorate that cannot eat can come now from Geshua in Yobe and see what his senator is doing in Abuja. When he has house in Asokoro, he has in Maitama. How can he protest? He has a senator from that section. He did not build there. He did not buy car. When he's coming, he changes his car. So the electorate, we the elites are the one that we need to do much work. And again, in addition, sir, the way the salary, the allowances of our politicians is too heavy and attract people to even kill themselves. I remember there was something that we came up with in a seminar one day. Do you know that councillors in Nigeria at a time was taking allowances and salary more than a professor? And then when we asked the question, they said, you two should change now from professorship and come and be a politician. That to be a politician, they have to be taken proper care of. If you can check the monetary aspect of it, it's the money that is attracting people. And they are ready not to serve. And they're ready to do anything, any damage. So internal democracy is theoretical. What is important is that let each elite check themselves. And I've said it. It's not only political. Even the academia, even the business elite, even religious elites are not doing the right thing. They're not checking their conscience. The basic thing about leadership, when God puts you as a leader, you are a leader already. It's expected, some characters are expected from you. We are not having them in Nigeria in abundance. That is the root of our problem. Electorate will vote today for a candidate because of protest. the candidate will change tomorrow to the party that they protested against. And then they will say it's a law. If you put sanction that don't contest election in the next 4 years because you decamp, somebody will go to court. The court will grant him that let the status quo remain until the judgment is delivered. Then he will contest election. The next 10 years, the judgment is not done. Even the judiciary, our judicial elites are having problem. There are some judgments that shouldn't last more than 1 day or 2 days. They drag it for the next 10 years. So thank you very much.
All right.
Can I speak about this internal democracy?
Yes.
Okay. Just to give you a point.
Go ahead.
Internal democracy, now, I agree. That's why, honestly, APC, what it's trying to do now, direct primaries, where the governors, my governors of APC, in most of the states, they have hijacked the party machinery. Now, Adam said, okay, fine, you have. Now, any contestant that is interested, it was demonstrated in Ocean State, that look, no more delegates. Let the card-carrying members vote for, elect anybody that would want, as a candidate. So, if the governors of APC now, let them hear, let them, they know. Governors of APC who think they have hijacked the party machinery, they cannot decide who is a candidate. So, I think this is a good idea. I call on my colleagues in the PDP, please try to, bring that kind of thing. Let the people decide who candidates of election will be. That will solve problems of, this internal democracy, I think.
All right. Well, at this point in time, we'll take a short break. Stay with us because we'll be back with more on politicians and politics of ideology. Do we have that ideology in this country? So stay with us on NTA Tuesday Live. We'll be back shortly.
Nigerians, our fearless officers and men of the Nigerian military are winning the war against Boko Haram. Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria, unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great nation.
Make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture bring on this message.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Right, thanks for staying with us. And we took out the cameras and spoke to the citizens to hear their views on the subject matter.
Ideology is a belief system, is a way of living that almost becomes your attitude. It's the kind of things that you may want to call in theoretical terms your core values. What guides your gathering, what guides your choice of friends, your choice of affiliation, your choice of association. So when you bring the two terms, the two words together, political ideology. So you're saying, as politicians, what brings you together? What are the belief systems that you have? What are the kind of things that you want to begin to pursue as a group of politicians? It's not about the party, it's the people that are in the party that makes the party. So most of these political parties truly have manifestos, they have ideologies, but on paper, you see the people that come into the party do not practice those ideologies. And that's why you notice somebody that is in PDP today and is in APC tomorrow, or was in APC today and now is in PDP tomorrow, are you trying to tell me both of them have the same ideology? No. So obviously it's for personal interest, it's for political gains, for personal self-interest. If it's about the ideology, irrespective of what is happening within the party, if it is the party's ideology that is keeping you there, you will hang in there and resolve it.
Election of some politicians to other political parties in Nigeria, I can say it is good, and I have my reason for saying that it's good, because it is a constitutional right that whenever your political party is in crisis, you have the right to defect to another political party. And I can even cite the section of the Constitution for you. Please do. Section 68, subsection 1, paragraph G, gives them the right to defect to other political parties.
Well, political ideology simply means what, in terms of political party, what a party stands for. The ideas of the party, what the party wants to achieve. Just as in America, you have the Democrats, you have the Republicans. They all have what they stand for, the way they go about. If they get into power, the way they go about implementing their policies to the interest of the people. First of all, I must say that our political party have ideologies. But, political party is different from members of the political party. So, the Nigerian political parties, basically, the PDP and the APC, I believe they have political ideology. But then, the implementation of these ideologies is a problem. You win an election, you go into power, you begin to do something different. You don't abide by the party's political ideology, what the party stands for.
The way people are defecting, sometimes if a place is not good for you and you want to leave, you have a right to leave. Nobody can stop somebody not to live the way you want to live his life. If you want to leave, you can leave. It's in the constitution that you can leave from the party to another party. It happened 2015. This time around, it happened 2018. So even though it happened in the next 4 years again, it may happen like that.
Politics is all those activities, directly or indirectly, leading to the seizure of state power, consolidation of state power, and use of state power. Professor Austin Rani said that politics is authoritative allocation of values. And in my initial reason, I also told you that politics is who gets what, when, and how. So this tripartite, Nigerian politicians are consumed by who gets what, when, and how, rather than the programs and policies of the party. Okay. Politics, you see, is all about, in the advanced climb, you discover people don't jump like this, but why people jump like this is that they are looking at greener pastures. They are looking at the cake, rather than serving the people. All we are asking is that let's have servant leadership.
Don't miss it.
Right. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go straight over to our Benin Center and put this question to our guests. Well, the point has been made that nothing is wrong with defecting, but refresh our memories, would you, about what the constitutional provisions are with regard to defections, especially for those who've been elected on the ticket of a particular party. Is there a loophole that politicians are exploiting? And we've heard people say, look, when it's our turn, it's all fine. When it's for us, it's good. When it's against us, there's something wrong. Take us through what the constitutional provisions are.
Well, the Constitution is clear. The Constitution, Section 68, actually dwells on the factors that can necessitate the decamping of a member of the legislative arm from one party to the other. Obviously, from the provisions of the Constitution, once you defect from your political party that has elected you into office, you automatically lose your seat as a member of the National Assembly or the State House of Assembly, as the case may be. But the only condition you can defect is if you have fashion within the party that you can no longer know the particular faction you belong to, whether it is the faction of A or the faction of B, both existing within the same political party. That is the only condition. But unfortunately, what politicians do is to manipulate the provisions of the Constitution. They come up with a kind of dramatic scene by pretending as if crisis is about to erupt in the party. Create that artificial scenario and then start to defect one after the other under the pretense that there exists a faction. But the definition of a faction from the political party is that it must start from the grassroots to the last top of that party. In other words, there must be crisis at the world level, there must be crisis at the local government level, at the state level, as well as at the national level. But obviously what has played out now in recent time is that there is really no crisis in any political party right now necessitating such defection, whether on the part of PDP or on the part of APC. The leaderships of these parties are known. However, should a political party decide to dissipate energy in going to courts to question a situation where such a political office holder has decamped from its own party to another and seeking a relief that he ought to forfeit his seats, you will agree with me that between the time there will be such legal battle and the time ruling or judgment will be given, of course, the political game would have been over. And so that is why I said earlier that the tool of a politician is quite different from the tool of a reasonable man. So I expect that a lot of work still need to be done in our laws, arising from the provisions of the Constitution. Of course, I do not see any reason why the National Assembly cannot take it beyond there by defining further what sanctions must be imposed and how these laws can be effectively harnessed or enforced by our various courts so as to check the excesses of these defections. But be that as it may, error is in the hands of those who ought to correct the error. That's the sad part of it.
Well, closely associated with the raging issue of defections, mass defections that we're witnessing, is also the matter of impeachments. Again, you find this is a pattern that once you begin to have defections on the scale that we're witnessing, which you saw 4 years ago, you begin to see an increased tempo of impeachments across the states. How do this come about as well? Yes, Senator.
Before I go into the impeachment, let me dwell a little bit on the issue of cross-carpeting. My colleague from Benin just said that he has not seen any crisis in any of the political parties. In PDP, we have a celebrated case of two factions, one led by Sheriff, another one led by McAfee. And they got up to Supreme Court. And during that period, some legislators of PDP who didn't have faith anymore, they camped to APC. Right. In such case, I think it's an established case that was very clear to all Nigerians. But today, there's no crisis in APC.
And that's what they said.
Yeah, no crisis in APC. So if you are defecting, it means that you've not been able to defect as a result of the provisions of Section 68. That the party should know how to go about that. Now, on the issue of impeachment, like my colleague said here, few months to election, it is about who gets what, where will the ticket be gotten, and then acrimony here and there, political acrimony here and there. I think that the procedure, the process for impeachment is clearly stated in the Constitution. And parliamentarians know the procedure for impeaching candidates, how to get it to third, how to ensure the panel will handle the issue, investigation done. As long as that is followed, it is part of democracy. That is what I have to put in this.
Okay, phones are back again, and we have from Iola, Shalom calling in. Hello.
Hello?
Go right ahead. Good evening.
Hello, Cyril.
Good evening. Go on.
Hello?
Go ahead. Your name is on screen.
Hello? Yeah, good evening, Cyril Stover and my elders in the house. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, Shalom. Well, we did say to you that once your name appears on screen, that's assuming that you're watching TV, your name is on screen, you go right ahead.
Camping from one party to another, it has been normal in Nigeria. But presently, I think we the masses are the ones that are causing this. We have allowed the politicians to be decoupling from one party to another because poverty has so much eaten us that even a chief becomes from a party to another, we go and support him, even though he becomes from party A to party B, because of the level of the poverty in us. That is why we used to go and support him. And meanwhile, the politicians are decamping. Their major interest is the reason why they are decamping. None of the masses has ever come out to ask any politician, why are you decamping from party A to party B or from party B to party A? When these questions are being asked by the masses to the politicians, why are you being decamped from this party to this party? Is it that party A is not performing or party B is not performing, that's why you are decamping, or what? But honestly speaking, the politicians are causing a very huge problem to this democracy. Our democracy has been threatened by these politicians. The issue of decamping has become rampant in Nigeria. And the game now of politics in Nigeria, it has become as very easy as ABCD. Can you hear me? Hello? I understand, I agree with my honorable in the house that when he spoke about that, when the elites have come to ask the politicians that if you decamp from this party to another party based on your selfish interest, then you should go away. We are not voting you. We are ready to vote you out. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, Shalom. Yes. No.
Well, let me just dwell on, like our APC. mischievously, politicians, decided to form RAPC just because of what's happening now, so that they could have avenues to move. Sadly for them, APC in fact is going to court to challenge those kind of people that have left. Not because like the party, it's like, to test the constitution, to ensure that, look, you just don't do this kind of thing because you want to move. Because RAPC, when it was formed, to date it's about 2-3 weeks. And you could see members have moved from, just to say that. So honestly, I think the party needs to go to court, and from what I gathered, the party is going to court to test that section 68 of the Constitution, to find out whether, yes, it's true there was any faction in APC. In fact, even the PDP, I think PDP should also go to court. There are certain times when there was no faction in PDP. Still, some people left PDP for the good of us as a nation. And honestly, for the impeachment of governors and so on, I'm not clear. I don't really know. I don't know exactly whether what the governors are doing is right. But thank God, what happened in Imo State today? I mean, really impressed with the judiciary. The judiciary in Imo State today, the chief judge said, look, we cannot swear in the so-called, deputy governor because it was not done properly. That kind of a thing. So we also, the politicians, need to be taught a lesson by the judiciary as well, so that we don't just go about, doing these things to spoil our name and so on. Now, if there are I don't want to mention name. I want all of us in this country to know that politicians move from one party to another just for election. There are some people in this country that have moved 4 parties just to look for elective positions. And if they don't get it in this party, they move to another one. If they don't get, so let Nigerians know that, look, anybody you see moving, please don't vote for that person, even if the person is coming into my party.
The question of poverty has been raised, and now there are many people who would say there's also poverty of the spirit. And it's not just about finances. But again, what's the role of the electorate if they continue to be led by the nose for certain issues that do not show any bearing, have any bearing on the overall interest of the populace? In the matters of defections, impeachments, internal democracy, what's the role of the people?
I think there's issue of poverty of economy. But the main poverty in Nigeria is poverty of the intellect. Intellect in the sense that before somebody can lead, I said it, almost 500, 600 years BC, before Christ, the Greeks, they have the thought that before you lead us, you must be a philosopher king. And they prepared them for that. But here, our recruitment to leadership, I'm sorry to say, it's not only in politics, almost everywhere, it's weak. We only aspire to lead. We don't even know the prerequisite of a leader. We are talking of advanced countries. Somebody wants to be a politician. Somebody wants to go into elective office. Somebody wants to go into appointed office. 3 months, 6 months to that time, he will go for course about leadership. Now, what does it take for me to even lead? But here, anybody can jump and become a leader. And then we believe that if you ask some people, why do you want to become a leader? He will say, because of money. It's a business. To him, he doesn't see anything in leadership other than business.
But most of the time, the politicians don't tell you that. They say, look, my people have called on me.
They will tell that to the public. But if you accosted them one-on-one, they will tell you that there's money there. Secondly, if you ask a leader that, how are you going to go about it? You don't have the prerequisite. He will tell you that I will be using advisors. But the question is that as a leader, how can an advisor advise you correctly and you'll be able to know when you're not prepared? Some advisors will advise you wrongly because you're not prepared. You will take his advice and act wrongly. So I'm sorry, you're a leader unprepared, without a prerequisite. You have advisors who advise you wrongly. At the end of the day, you kill your name. your name is bastardized. And then the society too, you make sure that the society do not grow. And again, the issue of laws, I believe that we have enough laws in this country. As my gentle learned colleague said, the constitutional provisions are there. Politicians are manipulating it. If you make law, they will still manipulate it. There's no doubt about that. That's why I'm calling on my colleagues, the elites, in the politics, in the business, in religion, in the academia, that we need to sit down and reach a consensus. That this country enough is enough. Nobody's enjoying it. Even if you acquire the money, you acquire the position, nobody's enjoying it. Let's think of a different alternative to how to lead ourselves.
Well, in our Benin Network Center, as they say right now, politics is already in the air. And of course, the courts will very soon be inundated with all kinds of litigations, all kinds of cases. And yes, this is what happens all the time. Party squabbles, even the smallest of them, they end up in court. And as you said earlier on, the process begins to drag and drag and drag. Now, what can be done to turn all this around?
Well, I think that judiciary should be prepared to really live up to the task. Incidentally, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, I'm aware, has given a marching order to honorable judges and justices at the high courts and the courts of appeal and the Supreme Court that there must be speedy trial of matters relating to pre-election matters and election matters. Well, but for the decampings that we have observed in recent time, the issue of pre-election matters and even election petitions appeared to have reduced from what we experienced in 2015 as compared to what it used to be. Because our various courts used to be inundated with such cases that we no longer even have the space for our regular cases in court. But following the 2015 that was to a very large extent creditably conducted, it would appear that such election petitions appear to be highly reduced. So, but from what is playing out now, it would appear that the politicians are also up to something quite sinister. And so we expect that the judiciary should actually watch out and to ensure that when there are issues relating to the contravention of the law, that should not only be dealt with in accordance with the law, but it should be swiftly and quickly dealt with so that justice will not just be seen to be done, but will also be seen to be manifestly done. I'm quite impressed with what has played out, for example, in Imo State, considering the flagrant breach of the Constitution and the way judiciary was able to rise up to the challenge of putting a halt to the swearing in of the deputy that, in the eye of the law, ought not to be. So we need to do more work because when we say the judiciary is the last hope of the common man, the common man is only a generic term. The common man also includes the politicians who themselves are not really common men in society, but big men in the society. So it is the judiciary as the watchdog that can really salvage a situation where there is a complete mess that may have been created by the politicians. But as a word of caution to the Nigerian politicians, not all issues that we need to really take to court. Because there are some of these issues that can actually be brought to the domain of the party. and be resolved accordingly. Because when you have agreed to come together as one in a political party, it means you are now a family. Because it is very embarrassing for you to have an individual, being sponsored for an election, and the person complains that I have no confidence in you as a political party, I am seeking redress in the law court, and eventually gets it. Which means the party has just been told that, well, it's not really fit as a political party. So we expect that the internal party democracy must be embraced by all the political parties. I am also impressed with the trend of things now, considering the fact that the Osun State gubernatorial primaries followed the direct voting system of the party members. So when you have such transparency, you reduce the trend of litigation that may ordinarily go to court pre-election matters. So we have to be up to the challenge at the level of political parties, and where there is already a breach from the political parties, then we know that the judiciary will be the last bus stop.
All right, as I said, the large chunk of the blame has been put at the doorsteps of the politicians. Therefore, they must also be part of the solutions. What can the parties begin to do to ensure internal party democracy and discipline?
Yeah, first of all, starting from this defection, I think I've seen that also as a process of bringing like minds now to group to be able to form a formidable group which will be called the political party. The issue of rushing into a party because you want ticket, with or without knowing the ideology base of that particular party, is not the political class has been challenged. Never in the history of this country have we been as challenged as today. And I think that given the opportunity that will also come out of this, like minds, the elites, using the words of the professor, should come together to agree to be able to know that the most important thing is national interest. The progressive mind should go to a party that has progressive agenda. The Republican mind should go to a party that has a Republican agenda. When people come sharing the same ideology and then forming a political party, then now they work towards achieving their target. Their manifesto will also be consistent with their ideologies. That is one. Two, there is need for a national consensus. There is need for cohesion in the polity. People with like minds should come having the interest of the country at heart. Think out, deploy the appropriate thought process that will protect the interests of the common man. When we are doing the right thing, everything should be result-based. The followership, people following you are following you because they have faith in you. And they believe that when you succeed, the country has succeeded. And when the country succeeds, it protects everybody. Then the sense of insecurity will be reduced. And then we will have a system. The project Nigeria is important to all of us. But there are so many situations that are so precarious that has not allowed for a seamless operation, that has not allowed for people to genuinely come out to work, hoping that everything will be based on merit and performance. So that we have been challenged, and I think we should really come to build this national consensus that will lead to a progressive Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, Honorable Farouk.
Well, yes, we've been challenged, and I hope we will take up the challenge. But honestly, we need to go back to our faith. We're either Christians or Muslims. We should have conscience that enough, say as politicians, enough of bloodshed in this country, irrespective of party or religion. This is a national catastrophe that we need to look at. So as a people, as a party, we should try to, okay, what do we do to bring peace in this country? Should we politicians, because of our ideology, decide to use violence, hate speech, ethnicity, religious bigotry? just to ensure that things don't work well so that certain party will be accused of, so these are the kind of consensus, and I think it brings me to the Constitution. The Constitution we have, it's called We Nigerians. But actually, is it we? I think it's we, the Nigerian military. That's the truth. The military government, formed the Constitution, and up to date, the constitutional amendments have not been done in such a way that a lot of things, loopholes that we saw, should be corrected. When I was in the House, we wanted to do it. Third term issue came. It didn't work. So
yes, but what was that the military stopping it from working?
No. But what I'm saying, no, it wasn't. It wasn't the military. But what I said, then the politicians also, in our own manner, brought about third term, so it didn't work. Now, but as a people, now we should agree to ensure those kind of things don't happen. What is the major problem of this country now? The economy, really. If the economy is working very, very well, there wouldn't be all this insecurity. Now, then at least the politicians need to agree that, look, just because I cannot pay salaries or just because I have stolen enough money, I should not push over the problem to another person. Let my conscience, let my religion teach me that, look, people's lives matter. So what do we do? What kind of ideology do we preach? How do we sit around the table, irrespective of party? Now, the situation we are in this country calls for a national dialogue amongst us, irrespective of the parties. Even in the midst of this defection, we need to sit amongst ourselves. Look, there need to be peace before any election. So if we continue to fight, kill ourselves, we will be in trouble. So I think we, the politicians, need to, exercise caution, watch our speech and guarded speech. We are all friends and family. We're not enemies of PDP. And I'm sure PDP are not enemies to us too. So, but as a people, then let's agree that, look, let the ideology be Nigeria first. Let there be peace in this country.
Prof, do you worry that while all this fiasco is going on, certain key developmental issues are suffering?
There's no doubt about that. And even the issue is being a kind of over-exaggerated, because it doesn't stop many things in terms of developmental not going on. Where we have problem, which I support the Honorable, is that there's need for elites to reach a consensus. If I'm in the Senate and the President bring a bill, even if it's not from my party, as far as the bill will help the society, I approve it. That's maturity. Because I'm representing the people. So the issue of development is not having problem. The main problem what we have in Nigeria today that increased poverty, one is inflation. Prices of things have skyrocketed. Secondly, the government of the day should be thinking, what are the theories we are going to use to reduce inflation? But sometimes, if you go back again, we are the one clamoring for privatization. Most of the economy of Nigeria is in the hand of the private individuals. And you cannot sanction an individual that you sell your goods at this price. We should be thinking, how can we reduce inflation? Secondly, states that are not paying salary is an heavy burden on the development of the people. Many states are complaining. Some are owing up to 12 months. Some are owing up to 20 months. I imagine, it's better imagined than real, that how can somebody survive when he cannot take salary for 4 months, 5 months, 10 months, 20 months? And again, the issue of, we need to treat issues properly. The issue of we in the constitution, and then the military doing constitution for us. We need to understand that even democracy, the concept of democracy, government of the people, by the people, for the people, worked in the Greek era. And how? In every Athens city, state, matured men, 25 years, we gather in a village square and take decision on their life. That's why they call it government of the people, by the people, for the people. But with the development now that we don't have city-states again, we have nation-states. People cannot, all of us cannot gather again and take decision. It should be representative. And that's what you call the concept of polyarchy in democracy. Government of representative of the people. You can't call everybody to come to National Assembly because you are 18 years old. Come and take decision on your life. It is people who will represent. We are now back to it, to what I said earlier. It's the elites who are representing the people that were not representing properly. It's not the problem of the Constitution. And I remember, sir, if I may be allowed, the 1979 Constitution is what General Absalom dusted and made 1999 Constitution for us with little changes. And then the 1979 Constitution was done during the Muritala and Obasanjo era, whereby they call what we call the Constitutional Development, it's a Constitutional Drafting Committee. CDC. After the Constitutional Drafting Committee, they called the Constituent Assembly, and they looked into all this and accepted, each person from each constituency accepted that this is what we wanted, and it was packaged as 1979 Constitution. What Absalami did was just to remove one or two, or to add one or two things, particularly derivation, 13%. He added that, and so on and so forth, 1 or 2, 3 things. But it was exactly 90% of what is in 1999 Constitution is the 79 Constitution.
Just before we go to the Benin Center, let me just stay on with you a while. Is it the way that the politics is practiced, what has been referred to as winner takes all? Is that the concept that is part of the challenge here? So how about being more accommodating? Why do people get ostracized once they cannot achieve the aim of getting a political office?
I'm sorry to say, it's not winners take all, it's greed. We have the highest greed in Nigeria. You want to take more than what you needed, and you are wasting when others are hungry. It's not winners take all, it's greed. And that greed, we can call it crude greed. Because when you take more than what you need, what is the mentality? There's something wrong with our mentality.
When you have a National Assembly that takes 6 months to pass a budget, and the Nigerian public are also doing nothing to checkmate them from their constituencies. My brother here in the Senate, we saw the budget was just passed about a month ago. So when we talk about inflation, these kind of things also add up. So until such a time when Nigerian public start asking questions, our representatives, look, you must pass this budget. You must do, you don't pad it. You don't, these kind of things. So these also add up to the inflation.
In addition, without the masses asking, let each individual representative also help. Because the masses are their own.
All right.
Well, our democracy is evolving. And as we continue to evolve, we'll continue to right the wrongs on such a time that we've gotten to maturity stage.
Right.
Okay, to our Benin Center now, we've heard people talk about the Constitution not being representative of the will of the people. We've always heard people say, no, this was not. They challenged the concept of we the people, and they always said this was something bequeathed to the country by the military. But is the fault with the Constitution? Because there are others who will say to you there are provisions, whether it was bequeathed by the military or not, there are provisions in the Constitution that if only they are implemented, they're carried to the letter, would do the nation proud. So what's wrong with that?
As far as I'm concerned, Uncle Cyril, I think I bet to differ a bit. Because the Constitution we have in the country is not a Constitution that cannot be amended, assuming without conceding the fact that the Constitution is fundamentally flawed. Of course, the Constitution can be amended following the provisions for the alteration of the Constitution. We have had series of alterations in the Constitution. Third alteration, fourth alteration, and so on and so forth. We have even had situations where you propose certain provisions of the Constitution to be amended, and people will kick against such amendment in the Constitution. You remember that just before President Goodluck Jonathan left office, he had to go to court with the National Assembly over the provisions the National Assembly sought to amend in our laws. I mean, are we all not Democrats? Were we in the military eras at that time, those things played out. So, you know, what's the issue of we being the makers of the Constitution, to my mind, remains, because we are still empowered to amend the provisions of the Constitution if we feel that there are provisions that really do not suit the purpose of time. But what is fundamentally wrong, as my colleagues in Abuja have rightly pointed out, is greed, selfish interest. We are motivated by whatever we have to benefit from the public office. And that's why it is important that the cost of governance must be reduced. Please, for Christ's sake, the bottins that go with public offices ought to be reduced. Because the way people want to get in there at all costs, no matter what it takes, gives an impression that once they are out of power, it's like fish out of the water. Why can't people be satisfied even when they are no more in power? Why can't they know that they can still contribute their own quotas to the development of the country based on that? Our own party system, for Christ's sake, we need to have parties that can outline programs and give responsibilities to people that have been elected through the political parties. To say, if you are not able to achieve this at so time, please, you will not be able to contest on the platform of the party in some other elections. Or you'll be shown the way out, as the case may be. But what we have from various political parties today is that party leaders kind of believe in their elected officers or their public office holders coming to service them. So these are some of the problems we are having. Until politicians know that political parties are there, setting an agenda for them, we may not be able to arrive at our destination.
Well, on the flip side of it, the politicians, what they can do to amend the system. Now, the larger Nigerian society, what is the responsibility to the political space of the larger Nigerian society? Today, even as we speak, there are people who want to throw their hat into the ring to contest for public office, but they are not even choosing political parties. What they're doing, they're testing the waters. Who will have me? On what platform will I succeed? Where am I likely to get the votes from? So it's not about what any of those parties would be offering. It's about how do you get power, which is always the problem people point to, that you go for the purpose of acquiring power, and at the end of it, you don't know what to do with it. So what's the responsibility of the larger society?
It is really unfortunate that this has become the issue. Really, people are driven by the zeal to serve. That's the first thing that informs anybody who wants to go to public office. Unfortunately, over the period, some people have, out of one form of abuse or the other, disappointed the expectations of the people. But a leader, a public servant, who is living up to the reasonable expectations of his constituents, enjoys the goodwill and confidence. And in other words, it is through reciprocity. If you perform, it establishes you in your constituency. Your people follows you. If you don't perform, after all, you've been elected. If you are really a leader that your people believe in you, you see danger coming towards the interests of your people. And you tell them, let's move. They move with you. But it's just that over the period, people are moving because of they're not able to accomplish one personal interest or the other. So today, what I have seen, it is through what is going on now that we will begin to have alignments and realignments. And people will begin to learn from the ugly events of the past. And then they will be able to address new political realities. Until that is done, we cannot get it right. So people of like mind must come. You may come to my political party today because we are doing it wrong. But the moment the operators of the political party begin to derail, it's no longer consistent with what we expected or what they informed you are going to join that political party. You go back and begin and talk to your people, consult with your people, and whatever advice they give to you, you follow. After all, you are there to represent them. I am one of the senators I can speak to, that I can sit here and take decision on behalf of my people. And I tell you tomorrow morning, over the telephone, I say it to them, they will follow because they believe in me. And that's why they elected me. And if today they are not able, they said, it's okay, you are not going back, I'll take it in good faith and join them to elect another person. It is not a personal right. It is not something that I've inherited. It is not my inheritance. It is not a personal issue. But it is public service. But public service is public service. That is the point I think I want to
I think my take is the responsibility of the people now, it's for them to identify who potential leaders should be. The communities to put forward people they think can lead them, not the other way around. If anybody comes to say, look, vote for me, the community should be able to say, no, we don't think you're the right person. So let the communities be involved in choosing who should come to represent them. I think that they should be able to do that as well.
All right, Prof.
It's okay. I think it is mandatory that every citizen of a country to take it as a civic right to vote.
Yes.
Not that maybe I'm contesting or my relation is contesting and so on and so forth. If you fail to take voting as a civic right, as we are doing in Nigeria, most of our people, particularly the elites, they don't usually go for voting. They will either go for either polling agent or party agent. But in terms of real voting, I'm mobilizing people that this is a civic right, a civic responsibility, until we're able to take it. I borrowed from the word of the distinguished senator that hope is not lost. Yes. As we are realigning and aligning and realigning, a time will come when we will stabilize. Yes. And I'm hoping that we will stabilize at a time.
So with that in mind, are you optimistic that 4 years from now, we won't be seeing a rehash of what we're seeing now?
No, because our problem in Nigeria is that we don't believe that things evolve.
Okay.
We believe in miracle, that by 4 years it must happen. But I have hope. Okay. I'm optimistic that a time will come we will stabilize.
I hope you seated here.
And I spoke here. Well, to our Benin Network Center, are you also optimistic on that same beat, and what do you think should be the responsibility of the larger society?
Well, the electorates are more informed now. The electorates are very conscious, and of course, they have to really build on that consciousness in ensuring that the politicians are told that they are not the ones that determine the political space, but that the political space is determined by the electorates themselves, and they should do that through the ballots of their votes. So that if we have a politician who has not performed but is wanting to change from one party to the other and hide under a canopy, then such a politician should also be taught a lesson through our votes. That's my last word.
All right. And it is on that note, we'll also have to thank you very much for being part of this